I am Kelly Carter, and this is Another Act. British actor Gugu Mbatha-Raw began acting, dancing, and singing when she was 11, and the actor hasn't left a single genre untouched since she debuted in 2004. We've seen her in a variety of films like A Wrinkle in Time, Belle, and one of my favorites, Beyond the Lights. Now Gugu is starring in the Apple TV Plus psychological thriller series Surface. Gugu, welcome to the show. You know, the last time we talked was right after Beyond the Lights came out, and you've done so many amazing things since that moment. Tell me about Surface and what made this project right for you at this point in your career.
Well, I read the script by Veronica West and it hooked me in. I mean, it was just so clear that the quality of the writing was so nuanced and complex and sophisticated. It kept me guessing. I loved the idea that I was completely inside Sophie's head from the get-go. And, you know, the idea of her not knowing who she is. I'd seen, you know, maybe memory loss movies like The Bourne Identity or something, but never with a female protagonist that looked like me, you know, in this sort of nouveau noir psychological thriller. I love the fact that it was set in San Francisco, which made it feel sort of cinematic and nostalgic and moody. And then knowing that Hello Sunshine were involved, having worked with them on The Morning Show with Reese Witherspoon, her company, I knew that, you know, their ethos is all about empowering women and uplifting women and creating complex narratives and leadership roles for them. So, you know, when they invited me to be executive producer on this, when I was so passionate about it, and pitch to Apple and be a part of, you know, the pre-production and behind the scenes as an EP, you know, I just jumped at the chance because, you know, just the role alone was, you know, an acty, you know, meaty role, and to be able to have the chance to learn from a production company that I really respect was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna ask you about the EP part of it all because that's significant. I think you and I both know that's where the power really is in Hollywood, behind the camera. So was this your first time producing and acting for a role that you brought to life?
Yes, definitely in terms of, you know, being at it on board from such an early stage. I was subsequently associate producer on The Girl before, but that, you know, a lot more things were in place on that project when I came on board at a lot later stage. And with this, it was very much, you know, initially me, Hello Sunshine, and Veronica West linking arms with Reese Witherspoon championing us. So yeah, it was really significant, you know, and I was much more involved in this one for sure.
Well, how did that change the way that you approached the character? Because you had a lot more stake in this.
I wouldn't say it, you know, I'm an actor first, and I don't think it changed my creative process apart from being more involved on every level, you know, in terms of, you know, who are we going to ask to direct, you know, who are we going to bring in terms of being the part of the DNA of the show, you know, in ending up with the incredible Sam Miller, who co-directed I May Destroy You, you know, somebody whose taste and aesthetic and edge we really all respected, and an incredible director, an incredible collaborator, you know, and being able to be a part of the conversations about casting and down to music and down to the final edit, even down to the trailer, you know, and the poster, you know, those are kind of things that I've maybe always had an opinion about, but not always, you know, a role that would, you know, have the power or the voice to express it. So for me, it was incredibly gratifying to be able to be a part of those conversations.
Should we expect more behind the camera work from you moving forward with other projects?
Potentially. I mean, I think it has to be right. I think, I'll always be an actor first, and there are certain projects that, you can jump on board with as an actor. I mean, don't get me wrong, this was incredible, but it's more responsibility. It's a lot more time. It's a lot more work. So you have to really know that you are thoroughly invested in it. So we'll see. I hope that I will find projects, and I intend to find projects that I can be involved in at such an early stage, because, even though it's more work, it's ultimately that much more satisfying, because I think your sense of creative ownership becomes more three-dimensional.
Oh, absolutely. It's a psychological thriller role. So where do you start with preparation for Sophie? How do you start to build her?
Well, it's interesting when you have a character, and this is the first time that I've had this experience. It was a very different process from the usual, where you would build a character, make choices about their backstory and their life and their likes and their dislikes and their experiences. When you're dealing with somebody who literally doesn't know who they are, you have none of that. So in a way it's liberating, because you can start really with what's in front of you, and Sophie becomes, looking through these innocent eyes, looking at everything afresh. And how would you experience, stepping out of your house for the first time, or going on the subway for the first time, or drinking a beer for the first time in a bar, like all of those things, that it's almost like, not like she's like an alien come from outer space, but the idea that, you are able to really savor everything, and everything is a sort of wide-eyed new sensory adventure for your senses, so yeah, the preparation was sort of an undoing of the typical actor preparation.
Well, all right. Well, here's a fun one, because I want to stay here with it. You said in a 2018 interview with British Vogue that you usually pick a scent for each character. Is that something that you still do? And if you do, does Sophie have a signature scent?
So this was the interesting thing, because exactly that, where I was like, I can't start with a scent for this, because who would Sophie, Sophie doesn't know, and actually about halfway through the first episode, there was one of the props, our amazing prop supervisor, who's so detailed, had a perfume on the counter in the closet, and I was like, oh, and I smelt it, and I was like, oh, I guess this is Sophie's perfume. Like, that's how I found the scent, because it was like, it wasn't something that I, as I say, chose. I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the one. This is what's in her world. And luckily, it was a scent that I really liked. And but it was also like one of those, again, it had to come to me from outside. I couldn't make that deliberate choice at that point, because it wasn't something that Sophie had made herself.
Yeah, where does that come from? I thought that was such an interesting thing for an actor to bring to a role. And I've heard different variations of that. Kerry Washington said that it's the shoes. She has to know what kind of shoes her character wears so she can build from there. And for you, it's a scent. So where does that come from, and what does that do for a character for you?
Well, for me, I'm a Taurus, right? So I'm a sense-oriented person, like taste, touch, smell. We're very sense-led people, so I've been told. So for me, to me, scent is part of your aura. It's like another garment, right? Like everybody, even if they don't wear perfume as such, everybody has a scent, everybody has an energy. It's another, invisible garment that we all bring into a space, good or bad. And so, for me personally, it actually came about when I was doing 2 roles at the same time. I was doing 2 guest roles on 2 different TV shows in the UK. And, sometimes I'd do a Monday and Tuesday on one role and then a Friday on another, or, sometimes they'd be back to back. And I needed a shortcut for myself to get me from one to the other and to take me away from myself. So I did that with scent, because for me, scent, it's an energy, I studied and read a lot around aromatherapy, how different scents can, obviously everybody knows things like lavender relaxes you, citrus uplifts you, but once you get into it a bit deeper, there's lots you can do with how they affect your mood. And anyway, I could talk for days about it. I find it really fascinating, but in terms of essential oils and in terms of how they affect your brain, but also as a character, I think it's a way of just completing a person, like a pair of shoes, like a hairstyle, scent to me is another layer of getting dressed.
Oh, I love that. Gosh, that's going to give me so much to think about even as I move forward. Something else that I like is that every time I see you in a role, you give us something different, which I would imagine is really the goal for any actor. But how is it that you keep your acting resume as diverse as you do? What's the secret sauce?
I'm a curious person, right? I like to keep challenging myself. I like to stay nimble. I hope to have a long career. So for me, I think, if you're versatile, if you're able to keep yourself interested, hopefully you don't get bored. Hopefully people don't get bored of you. Hopefully you grow as an artist, and then you're able to do many things. And, again, I just like to keep challenging myself. So I, hope to continue to do that.
Awesome. I love it. You're also in another series that people are really salivating for more of. Is there anything you can tell us about Loki? I know it's under penalty of death, but...
It's happening. It's all happening right now. That's all I can say. I can't say anything, Marvel police will, take me away.
And we can't have that happen because we got very excited when we saw you in that series. So Marvel, don't take her away. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, well, let me ask you this instead. What are you looking for right now with regards to your career?
Oh my gosh, I feel in such a good place. I'm so excited for everyone to see Surface. I feel like for me, having this role as executive producer, being able to sort of grow and stretch in the industry. I just finished doing an action movie with Kevin Hart, to be able to do a different genre of heist action movie. I feel like I just feel like I'm in a really good place right now. So I'm looking for the next challenge, the next adventure. But I'm also, happy to appreciate how far I've come.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, where were you in your career when you first started thinking about behind the camera stuff? Where did that start for you?
Yeah, it's something I've always had an awareness of. I don't know that I have had one specific moment in time that's come to me. I think, the more you grow, the more you do, you realize how much you've learned along the way, from being immersed in, all the different directors that I've worked with over the years, all the different actors. I think you learn something, and even from the bad experiences, thankfully there haven't been too many, but you learn the most sometimes from the negative experiences, or how not to do things, or, examples of how things could be improved upon. A lot of it is a communication and psychology, to be honest with you. There's the acting, but then it's like, well, how good are your diplomatic and communication skills? How can you read a room? How good is your emotional intelligence? Can you talk to people? Can you communicate your ideas, without letting your emotions overtake you? So all of that stuff, I think, is also just like the school of life. So yeah, I don't know. It's an exciting ride to be on.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad that you're on this ride too. Thank you so much for taking time out to chat with me today, and continued success.
Thank you. Thank you so much.